It's just definitely come full circle for me, in a good way, not in a bad way, but in a very good way, realizing who I am and where I've come from and knowing where I want to go. So how about you?
Same. I didn't even understand it at the time. And I have to tell you, for those of you that are listening, these are some of the benefits that come out of it. You think, this is such an awful thing, and it is a horrible thing that I'm going through, and how is life ever going to get better, and how am I going to get through this? But the way that I look at it after the fact, looking backwards, is just what you were talking about. I get the opportunity to reinvent my life and who I am and what I'm truly about, gaining authenticity, because I went into the marriage really in pretty much a fake way, just putting on a facade of who I thought he wanted me to be. And why? Just like you said, I felt a lack of worth. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin and who I was, and that was the root of the problem. And so therefore, I developed a facade of what I believed would make someone love me and be attracted to me, which is so hysterical now, isn't it? As if you could make somebody love you ever, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember thinking, well, if I could just do this better, if I could just do that better, if I could just be who he wanted me to be, he would love me. He would think that I'm okay. But every time I try to do more and more, he just kept finding fault in me. Well, why couldn't you be faster in this? Why couldn't you do this more? Why couldn't you do that? How come you can't look like this person or be like this person? And it just it was like a no-win situation, which just made me I was just getting sick over it, absolutely getting physically ill over it, because I knew I couldn't be who he wanted me to be. And then I realized, you know what? I have to be me. I have to be okay with me. And that kind of took a turn for my life to make my life change. The other turning point for me was my daughter said to me, after I had going through the divorce, she said to me, I was going to be going over and seeing her and everything. And every weekend I would say, okay, what are we going to do this weekend? Well, what are we going to do? Finally, she turned to me and she said, Mom, you got to get a life. And I realized again, I was coming from divorce, being, married a long time. I didn't have a life. I didn't have one. My life was to him. Everything, my whole existence was all about him, just like you had mentioned before. And then I realized, my gosh, I don't have a life. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? I was just I was so overwhelmed with that. What am I going to do? And who am I? And I don't even know what I like anymore because I was so busy. I started doing everything she liked to do. I was just transforming myself into my children. And so I thought, whoa, wait a minute. I'm going to be one old lonely broad if I don't do something different. So that was a reality for me. How about for you?
I just loved what you said, because I think that's something that we probably all, or at least most of us, have in common, and that is we, in the beginning, middle, or end of divorce, we think, what is my life going to be? And thus, that's where the curse becomes a blessing. You get to reinvent your entire world from the foundation up. And that can be very exciting, just to decide who you are and what you really are about, and what really are your core values, what's important to you and what's not. And looking back, we don't even necessarily have to look back. Sure, there's going to be regret, but it doesn't have to be a negative thing in terms of, sure, we all kind of created something that we really weren't. But now the blessing is we get to refigure it out and become more real and more authentic and more genuine and more ourselves than we ever were. And we've learned some valuable lessons of what not to repeat in the future. Those things that we did, like you and I, creating a false version of ourselves. And really, if you think about it, we sold ourselves out. And now we get to reclaim our authenticness and our own souls and say, just like you did, you know what? Wait a minute. I am okay the way that I am. Is that to say I'm perfect? Oh, hell to the no. But I want to be genuinely me. And I want to attract someone that loves, respects, and honors me for me. And I now know that putting on all of these facades, and oftentimes it's subconsciously, is not the way to go. And it's, first of all, just because it's disingenuous, that's always going to come back to bite us in the butt, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, now looking, fast forwarding, and I know those out there, you want to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. For me, I had to step back and I really started thinking, okay, well, what makes me happy? That was probably my very first steps, thinking about my joy, bringing my joy back, what really made me happy. And I started, at an early age, I started dance. I loved to dance. I danced all through high school. I was a dancer in the high school, and then I continued on. And then when I met my husband, he didn't like to dance. None of them liked to dance, which is one of my big passions. And it was like, well, wait a minute. So I started going back into dance, doing some small things, small steps of what I really liked doing. And I found that I just started blossoming. Just the real me started coming out, the joy. My father even said I was laughing like a teenager. I was having a lot more fun. And eventually I got to the point where my daughter said, gosh, Mom, you got so much of a life. I need to make an appointment. And it was true. I was having fun. I was really, really enjoying myself. I don't want listeners out there to think that being single is okay. You don't necessarily have to have someone right with you. I mean, it's great if you can eventually move forward, date, and have a partner in life. I mean, I would love to see all of us have that. But if we choose not to do that, and that's the big thing, is choose not to do that, that's okay too. Because we can connect with friends and do a lot of different things, of course, be with our family. We can really be okay as long as we're okay within ourselves. And
you're so right. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you find that too? Do you find that as you are moving forward throughout your divorce?
Oh, it's such in a big way, Cece. I really, just like I coach my clients, I had the privilege of literally reinventing my whole life and then building a career that I have extreme passion at, none like I had in the past, working for anybody else, doing anything else. And that curse became my blessing, because I sat there just like some of you folks out there right now. What the hell am I going to do with my life? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to live? What am I going to do about the kids? There's all these questions. And if you can allow yourself settled into the reality that, you know what, I'm going to reframe this. I'm going to look at this as an opportunity to find my joy, as you mentioned. And as a matter of fact, I wrote an article on divorcemagazine.com. I think it's divorcemag.com for those of you that may be interested in reviving your joy. And that is so huge. And one of the things that I mentioned is really similar to your experience, Cece, and that is that finding things that bring you joy don't have to be the big, magnanimous, I want a mansion and a Maserati and a six-figure income and things like that. I found, just as you did, that really it's the smaller things in life that brought me joy that I never even realized, and I discounted. And, oh, boy, what a mistake was that for me. And to revive that which made me joyful. And I went through the same thing that you did. Get this. For example, my husband never liked holidays. Well, in my family, when I was a kid, that one of the good things is that we made a big deal about all of the holidays, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas especially. And I found, like you, that I started giving up those things because he didn't care for them. For example, as soon as I got divorced, I thought about what you did. What are the simple pleasures in life that really bring me joy? And one of the things is, you know what, and this is bad on me, I sacrificed and started doing less and less and less for the holidays. And one commitment I made to myself that just tickled me pink is that next Christmas, I tell you what, girl, I brought out every Christmas decoration. My house looked like a cheap version, of course, of Nordstrom's department store, because I brought out everything. And I tell you what, that may not be for everybody. This is just an example. But I tell you what, I just giggled looking at the Christmas tree at night, all lit up, and the beauty of it, and even the silly Santa Clauses that is on a bed and you push the button and he snores and his stomach goes up and everything. And I loved it. My joy returned. And more I took back that which empowered me and brought me joy. And here's the thing, folks. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters that it matters to you. It could be the silliest thing in the whole wide world. If it's important to you, then you revive that habit, that whatever it is, just like it could be dancing, it could be anything. Don't you think, Cece?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. It's the can-do moments. I think that for me, I stepped out and did so many different things. A lot of my girlfriends, they would always say to me, well, shake it up. You know, I have a good girlfriend, Janet Tatum, and she used to always tell me to, step out of the box and shake it up. If something's not working for you, do something different. And just step out and do something out of the norm. And which brings me here to the radio show is, I started in my own show, and totally something I would never imagine in a million years thought I could possibly do, let alone now we have our own station going solo network. I just sit back and I'm awed at what I have achieved and really my vision of where I want to go. So it shocks me now to think that there's no lid, there's no ceiling to what I can achieve, when before, in my marriage for so many years, there was just constantly, basically a lid on my pot, So, yeah, it is amazing. Once you can catch your breath, and I think really connect with someone that's positive in your life, like, connect with a coach or someone such as yourself. I think it really does help people to be able to move forward, connect with like-minded understanding. See, for you, been there, done that approach. You know what people are going through. You can relate to them. That's what makes you such an excellent coach. I get all the training you've done, and I admire you for that, but it's who you are, the depth of you, that makes you the one that's the seeker that they need to seek out and find. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. And you know what? That is why we are here. And I agree with you that for those folks that are listening in that are going through this, seek out whatever nourishes your soul. A trusted friend, a coach, a pastor. Listen to this radio program, a book. There are just, the internet is full of information and helpful articles and how-tos, and folks like us today sharing our experiences. And are we the be-all, know-all? Probably not. We probably don't have 100% of all knowledge, all places. Only God has that. But you know what? We're here to help. There's other sources out there. Whatever resonates with the gal or the guy that's really struggling, I completely agree with you. And by the way, a recent study came out that those that did seek out either an individual or a group or organization that had similar challenges with what they were going through were able to progress and grow and get over it, sometimes 50% faster. What are your thoughts on that, Cece?
Oh, absolutely. I think our world is